What's going on, YouTube? Ryan and Alex back from Dopamon again. Today, we're here to preview the Carolina Hurricanes and the Boston Bruins Stanley Cup round quarterfinal series in this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. The leader of the Metropolitan Division, Carolina Hurricanes, are taking on the first wild card, Boston Bruins. Carolina, they're both fairly the same team, I find. They're both very well rounded. They don't have one like guy that's superstar level 100 points. They don't have an 80-point defenseman. They kind of do it all by committee. They both have two goalies that have done very well this year. These are very similar teams. They're both defensively responsible. There's a lot I can compare to these two, Alex.
hmm Both have put commitment to the team above all else. I feel like more so than any other NHL teams. Like the Hurricanes doing their weird things after the wins and stuff like that. There's a certain commitment that you get, and it shows on the ice that both teams. I agree are kind of similar in that sense. But the head to head, I think, is my favorite part of all of this
Yeah,
matchup here, this preview.
I didn't realize that the Carolina Hurricanes had their way with Boston like they did this year. 3-0 on October 28th, 7-1 on the 18th of January, and 6-0 on February 10th. Um,
16-1.
yeah. I don't know
That's
what happened here. I obviously didn't watch all of these games. I don't know what the hell happened here, but that's not great.
mm,
What does that mean for Boston? Because when I was thinking about this series, I'm like, I have Boston like seriously like as a contender here, but I look at these scores, man. Oof. Do they
yeah,
have?
sometimes teams just kind of rock, paper, scissors each other, and they have Carolina has what Boston has been bringing. They've been countering it all season, and what does that mean about the playoffs? I think it matters personally. I think season how they match up head to head, especially over 3 or 4 games, does have kind of show how the teams kind of match up against each other, but. I didn't expect that from any playoff teams. I didn't expect to see such wild, maybe from like Arizona versus Carolina, but not Boston versus Carolina.
Yeah, this is aggressively one sided. Now, obviously, the playoffs are the playoffs, and the regular season is the regular season. The biggest thing like that I give Boston another little advantage is that the Carolina Hurricanes have a huge problem in net right now. Frederik Andersen will not be playing in round one. Would have been fun to watch him play the Boston Bruins and get redemption there, but he won't be playing. Antti Ranta is a questionable starter. He was hurt as well. We don't know if he's going to play game one. The other Carolina Hurricanes goalie that got some starts at the end of the year, he got 3 wins and a 902 save percentage, is Pyotr Kochekov. And he's a kid. He's 22 years old. He has played very, very well for the Chicago Wolves and Nizhny Novgorod Torpedo this year in the KHL. But obviously, a huge question mark. He's a young Russian goalie. And if they have to go up against the Boston Bruins with him, that might swing everything back in Boston's favor, wouldn't you say?
hmm So at the same time, when we're talking about holes on teams, you got to worry about for Boston that they only have the top scorers right there. Those are their only scorers. I feel like Pasternak, if you can negate his goal scoring, all of a sudden the Boston Bruins don't look very deep. And it might be easier for, maybe a backup to kind of steal a win or two, maybe until Ranter Anderson comes back. And if they can keep it to a long series, hey, you don't win 16-1 in 3 games, only on goaltending. You know, like, you got to have good defense. They're both really good teams, and if Carolina plays well, just a backup goalie can stand on their head as well, and I feel like can maybe do well enough and maybe steal a series.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge question mark still, but I agree.
Hmm.
It's a rookie goalie jumping into a Carolina Hurricanes playoff run and stealing the show is not unheard of. Um,
Yeah.
the defensive ability of the Carolina Hurricanes, I think, is pretty unmatched this year. They're first in goals against and penalty kill, and just their defensive core and the kind of style they play with Rod Brindamore as their coach is just incredible. And they have some offense too, and Tony Giangelo and Jacob Slavin had a good offensive year at 42 points. To your point against the Boston Bruins being kind of only one line, I think that's kind of been the case the last few years. Is they've always kind of struggled with secondary scoring ever since like the early 2010s. But they've had some pretty good secondary options this year. Taylor Hall had a 61-point year, 20 goals. Obviously not MVP level, but in Boston he didn't have to do MVP level. And great option, secondary scorer there. Eric Holla, 44-point season. Charlie Coyle, 44-point season. Jake DeBrusk always is a demon in the playoffs. They got a lot of depth, and they do it by committee. Nick Foligno did not have a great season this year. 2 goals in 64 games, but he's always a threat in the playoffs. He plays that kind of game. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think both teams are built very similar. I think they are coached very similar, Bruce Cassidy and Rod Brindamore, and I'm very excited to watch just the coaching back and forth too. I find that's really exciting in the playoffs too, watching a team come out with one strategy in the first period and then switching it and then switching halfway through the game again and trying to get a leg up and get line matching going on. It's a chess match. It really is. And
Hmm.
these two coaches are probably the best at doing that, at out coaching the other guy. So having them in a series of going up against each other, that's fun.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as high scoring as the head to head, but a lot closer for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit more of a defensive battle.
Especially if Carolina has to deal with the goalie question, they're gonna emphasize defense if anything, and keep the door shut. Not no risky plays. Don't give up any 2-on-1s. Hard back checking.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens here.
Hmm.
I don't know who's going to start. We're talking about the goalies for Carolina. I don't know who they're starting in net for Boston. Ullmark and Swayman played 41 games apiece. Exactly right down the middle. Had very similar numbers. I think you go with
I
Ullmark.
think I think I feel like they've been going with Swayman. I think I just have a feeling, but I guess we disagree. So
I would
good thing
start Ullmark game 1. I think
because he's
he's
more experienced for sure.
yeah, and I think it's normally you see a lot in the playoffs. One guy kind of gets the reins, even if it's 1A, 1B. I think you can seriously consider just flipping these two guys. Like, and unless you win and you win 3 or 4 in a row and you end up sweeping and then he gets on a crazy streak, then keep him in. But I basically go and I'm like, hey, if you win, you get to play the next game. If you lose, the other guy's going. So we'll see. We'll see what
Hmm.
happens there. Uh, really excited for this series. The Eastern Conference is going to be an absolute, such a fun group of series to watch. And everyone is my favorite time of year. I'm so hyped to watch the NHL playoffs this year. And yeah.
Oh, prediction.
Oh, prediction.
Predictions. I have Carolina in 5. Spoiler: I've been high on them all video, but in 5. I think Boston's gonna pull 2-1 or 1-0 kind of win, but games 1 and 2 to Carolina, games 4 and 5 to Carolina, and that'll be it.
I think the goaltending in Carolina is too big of an issue. I'm going to take
Mhm.
Boston to win this series, and they're going to do it in 6.
Hmm.
That's my prediction. Let us know what you have down in the comment section down below. Who is going to win this series and why? Why are they going to win it? That's important. Or just tell me your bracket. We're all going to be wrong. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs. We don't do these videos to be right, guys. I'm sorry. I dare you to show me your perfect bracket. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Leave a subscription if you really liked it. Want to join us for more hockey content coming in here through the playoffs and the draft and World Juniors and all sorts of stuff we're going to have coming through here in the summer and the next season. Thanks so much for watching once again. Peace.